Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Stories. Tonight, I'll be sharing 3 horror stories to send chills down your spine. You can find credit for each story and its author in the description below. A big thank you to the Bat Belfry and Philosophizaboy for allowing me to narrate their stories. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and tell me what types of stories you enjoy. Make sure to subscribe for more eerie tales coming your way. Now, our first story is our shared horror story part 1. Now it's time for our journey beyond the veil. The name is Alice Marshall, and I thought I was the only one with a paranormal past. I'm a tattoo artist working in downtown. I stay a cheap studio apartment in the sketchy part of the city. One night while running some errands, I encountered a girl digging through the trash behind the building. I took sympathy over her, being an orphan myself, and decided to let her stay with me. I asked her name, to which she said, "Maribel, that's an ugly name." Hey, she softly punched my arm. At least I got both eyes. She pointed at the black bandage wrapped around my right eye. "The less of your ugly face I gotta see, the better." I playfully pushed her inside. She was deadly afraid of mirrors, refused to enter any room with them. I had a big fear of light myself, so who am I to judge? I removed all mirrors, but left one in my room, which I didn't let her know about. Throughout the nights, I started seeing the same black cat appear above our dumpster, crawling under the light. I paid it no attention and headed upstairs. As I approached the door, I heard Maribel scream. I desperately unlocked it and burst in. Maribel was being dragged along the floor by an invisible force. I reached to grab her, but stumbled back when I felt a bony claw slice through my arms. It dragged her into my room and towards the mirror. That's when I saw it, or them. The creature's body, although invisible, reflected against the mirror. Tall and skinny, red flesh and no eyes. Long claws wrapped themselves around Maribel's shoulders. A maid in black and white outfit, and vibrant red hair, waited on the other side. She glanced over to me and smiled. I lunged myself towards Maribel and grabbed hold of her hands. I pulled her away as she kicked the creature back. The maid snickered. Maribel held tightly onto my shirt while I snatched her up and rushed to the door. The door swung open to reveal my neighbor standing in the entrance, his eyes completely black, with an uncanny smile. "Alice, Alice, Alice. Oh, Alice, you thought you were free. Who is that, Alice?" Maribel turned to him, then to me. I shut off the light and stepped into the other room. My neighbor stood by the door, waiting. A loud crash was heard from the hallway as I locked the door and stood by the dark corner with Maribel. "What do we do?" "Shut up and let me think." I sat Maribel on her bed. The creature started slashing away at the door, trying to break it down. "What is that thing, and why does it want you?" "Andrea calls it a night." "Who?" "The girl in the mirror." "The maid? What does she want with you?" Our conversation was cut short when the creature finally broke down the door. Couldn't see it approach me, but I did hear its footsteps getting closer. I felt a sharp pain in my stomach as it ripped through my shirt and flesh. Falling to the ground, I saw as Maribel was lifted into the air and seemingly floated away. I crawled to her, all while my neighbor comes into the apartment, pointing a flashlight to his face as his shadow engulfed the ceiling. He grabbed my hair and pulled me towards him. I swung my leg across his, causing him to let go and drop the flashlight. The flashlight landed on the floor, aiming at Maribel. Maribel, who'd been screaming the whole time, went silent as the light hit her. Her pupils dilated until her eyes went black. She let out a cackle and rammed her fingernails into the invisible creature. Dark red blood, nearly black, appeared in midair. It flowed down the creature's back, exposing its once transparent body. The creature dropped Maribel, who hit the ground with a loud thud. I caught the creature's reflection once more in the mirror as it jumped through. Andrea shook her head and walked away. Maribel stared back at me with her black eyes. I quickly snatched up the flashlight and turned it off. Maribel's eyes returned to normal as she fell onto her back. I then got up and smashed the mirror against the ground, shattering it. For the remainder of the night, I held Maribel in my arms. She eventually woke up and smiled, as did my neighbor who I escorted to his apartment and found a dead black cat lying in his floor. The next morning, while I made breakfast, Maribel explained her story of finding an old mirror in her attic and how Andrea tricked her into doing horrible things. She escaped, so Andrea sent out these hideous creatures who only showed up in the mirrors after her. Taking my turn to explain, I told her about Barry, my old teddy bear friend who I discovered was a sentient shadow who possessed people and objects when under any light source. Maribel then asked, "Do you think there's other monsters out there?" "I don't know, but I won't let any of them get to you." Our Shared Horror Story, Part 2. A cabin rests in the middle of the woods near the Great Lake. It's a quiet and calm night. Margaret Hickens sat at her rocking chair, sewing a sweater. Television on. Patrick Hickens was working on his old red truck outside. He drops his tool under the engine and reaches for it. Margaret screams, alerting Patrick. He runs inside in a state of panic to find a tall creature with body made of cables and a television head. The creature snatches Margaret up and shoves her into its screen. "Patrick, the telly is alive." The telly completely devours Margaret. Patrick quickly grabs the rifle hanging in the living room and opens fire. The bullets pierce the screen, shattering it. Telly takes Patrick by his neck and slams him against the ground repeatedly until his head cracks open like an egg. Meanwhile, down the road beyond the woods, a car speeds past. It continues driving through the highway and out of state. It finally stops at the Day and Night Motel. Alice Marshall steps out of the driver's seat. The black bandage around her right eye casts a shadow over her face. Maribel gets out of the passenger's seat. "Are we staying here just for tonight?" They walk into the main office to find it empty. Impatient, Alice jumps over the counter and takes the keys to room 201. She signs her name on the checklist and jumps back over. The two head up to the second floor and towards their room. The room at the end is covered in police tape. Alice pays it no attention and leads Maribel inside. They drop their bags on the bed. Maribel rushes to the television and turns it on. "Little late to be watching TV, don't you think?" Alice remarks. Maribel shrugs and jumps as someone aggressively bangs on the door. "Turn it off." The person screams from the other side. Alice shuts the TV off and turns back to the door. "Who the hell are you?" "Elizabeth Summers. Please get out of the room or break the TV now." "Sure. If you pay the motel for breaking their stuff." "You don't understand. Then explain it to me." She sighs, then open the door. Alice unlocks the door and pulls it open. A woman in her 30s stands at the doorway. Alice invites her inside. The woman takes a seat at the bed opposite Maribel's. "It sounds crazy, but it's the truth," she concludes after explaining her story. "A TV-head monster tried to eat you, and you got transported into a horror movie." "Yeah, that checks out." "You don't seem surprised." "I'm running away from a shadow that possesses people, and she is hiding from a maid who lives in a mirror." Maribel simply nods. "I gave you my name. May I get yours?" "Alyson Marshall. This is Maribel, my baby sister." Maribel gives Alice a confused look, first for being called her sister, but then at her name, Allison. "I thought your name was Alice." "Only people I like call me Alice. So you're familiar with crazy stuff like this?" "My first encounter with my little shadow thief was when I was 8-ish, and after 16 years, he finally caught up to me." "You're 25. Maribel asks. 24, Mary, Alice corrects her. "Elizabeth, the cops are out for your head. Why come back here?" "Well, Before she can answer, the television turns on by itself. "Shit." Alice grabs Maribel and rushes her outside. Elizabeth follows them. They run downstairs and towards Alice's car. They jump in, but as Alice starts the engine, Telly breaks through the glass and snatches her out of the car. Maribel screams, prompting Elizabeth to get out. She takes Alice by her legs and pulls. Telly then grabs Elizabeth and pushes both of them inside the television screen. Maribel pulls the rear seat down and slips into the trunk. She covers herself up with the clothes in the back. A few minutes go by and nothing. Maribel quietly slips out of the trunk through the open seat and steps out of the car. Alice, Elizabeth, she wanders the empty parking lot, alone once more. Finally, our last story is the longest of the three. We all worship an eldritch horror. God is dead and we have killed him is something you wish you can say if you find out the real truth. The truth, however, is far worse. God never lived. The real truth is something that no man could ever whisper with even a shred of sanity left intact. What we call God, what we imagine to be divine and omnipotent, is nothing but a veil over a darker force, a malevolent shadow that predates even the stars. We did not create God, nor did we destroy him. Instead, the thing we worship now across all nations has always been here, always watching, waiting. Before we move along, just know that I am going to show you the journal entries I kept during my years of service as a spy. I don't know why I'm bothering, though. Perhaps it's because I no longer have anything else left to lose. You need to see this. No, you need to understand it. You won't believe me, but maybe once you've read it all, you'll have some idea of what I've seen, what I've suffered through. I don't expect you to make sense of it. I doubt you'll even be able to. I can barely make sense of it myself anymore. The words on these pages, they're not enough to explain the things that tore my mind apart, bit by bit, until I became whatever I am now. But I'll let you read them anyway. They'll haunt you, of course, as they've haunted me. Maybe that's what I want. Maybe I don't want to be alone in this. But remember this before you begin. I am already dead. These pages may still carry the remnants of my thoughts, but the man who wrote them, the man who clung to hope, to reason, is long gone. He vanished the moment I learned the truth, the moment I saw the world for what it really is. Read them if you dare, but when you finish, don't ask me if there's anything left. There isn't. There never was. Day one. I never imagined my mission would bring me to the edge of madness, but here I sit, scribbling these words as I fight against the overwhelming dread creeping into my bones. The moment I set foot in Moscow, something felt wrong. The cold wasn't just outside. It gnawed at my very soul. I was tasked with posing as Dmitry Ivanov, a devoted Soviet agent. My orders were simple: infiltrate the highest levels and uncover the truth behind Project Zorya. It was rumored to be a scientific experiment with the potential to alter the balance of power between East and West. But from the moment I began digging, I realized I wasn't prepared for what I would find. Day 7. I can't stop thinking about the whispers, the way the men speak in hushed tones when they think no one is listening. Zorya, always with that name. I'd thought it was some new technology, some military secret. I was a fool. The documents I've found, the ones they tried to keep hidden even from their own, speak of something darker. Symbols, ancient texts, rituals. This is not the work of scientists. It's the work of people who have given up on reality. Or maybe they've seen too much of it. Maybe they know something I don't. Yet. One night, while reviewing classified documents in a dimly lit archive, I came across something peculiar. A page detailing summoning rites rather than experiments. My blood ran cold. These weren't the ramblings of a desperate scientist. They were meticulous notes. The Soviets weren't just toying with science. They were summoning something. Day 14. They're worshipping something. I saw it today. A gathering of men in the dead of night, chanting in a language no human should ever speak. It wasn't Russian. It wasn't any language I could recognize. It was something else, something old, something that felt wrong. And they weren't praying to any god I know. No, they were praying to an altar covered in symbols, and the air was thick with this oppressive thing. I could feel it on my skin, in my lungs, crawling under my flesh. They bowed to this nameless horror, like it was their savior. I don't know what they think it is, but it's not God. It can't be. Nothing so wretched could be a god. Day 20. I'm losing myself. I can feel it, creeping in like a sickness. I want to sleep, but I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see its shape, its eyes. I wish I could say it wasn't real. I wish I could dismiss it as some sick hallucination, some trick of the mind brought on by isolation and fear. But I can't. I've seen it. It's as real as the blood pumping through my veins, though I wish it weren't. This thing, Azramoth, they call it. The documents I've found, they tell a story of madness, of a being older than time itself, something that devours everything, our wars, our suffering, our despair. The governments of the world, they know. They've known all along, and they've served it, feeding it with our misery. It's not just the Soviets. It's everyone, every nation, every leader, every system built on the backs of human lives. All of them serve this thing. We fight wars to keep it fed. We bleed to sate its hunger. We die and it grows stronger. God is dead, and the thing we call God never was. What we have is a parasite, one that thrives on our pain, and we are the ones who keep it alive. Day 24. I no longer sleep. The nightmares are too vivid, too real. I see its twisted form in my dreams, though I cannot describe it without my mind recoiling in terror. It is everything and nothing at once. Its hunger is endless. It whispers to me, taunts me with the knowledge that I am too insignificant to stop what is coming. I have heard rumors that the experiment, the summoning, is nearing completion. Soon, they will bring it forth completely, and the world as we know it will end, not in a flash of war, but in the cold grip of something far worse. Day 28. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. I don't know how much longer I can fight the weight pressing down on me. I see it now, in every face I pass, in every shadow that stretches long in the fading light. They've all been taken by it. Every man I speak to is just a husk, empty but walking, talking, laughing like nothing is wrong. But I know. I see what's become of them. Even my reflection has changed. I look in the mirror, and it's not me staring back anymore. There's something hollow in my eyes, something dark. I try to smile, but it's more of a grimace. A corpse's grin. I wish I were dead, but death won't save me. Nothing will. Day 30. The experiment is almost over. They'll finish it soon, and when they do, there will be nothing left of this world. I've seen glimpses of what it will be like. Shattered fragments of a future where everything burns, where there is no life, no death, only endless devouring. I used to think death was the worst fate, but now I know better. I know that death is just another tool in eldritch God's hands. Even in death, we won't escape. There will be no peace, no quiet, no final rest, just the gnawing hunger of the void. I can feel it pulling at me even now. It wants me to give in, to let go of the last remnants of myself, to stop resisting. But I can't. I won't. Not yet. Not until I've written everything down. Someone needs to know. Someone needs to see what's happening. Maybe it will destroy them, just like it's destroyed me. But at least they won't be blind to the truth. The truth that there is no escape. Day 40. I attended the final ritual tonight. My body was there, standing among them, but my mind, my soul was somewhere else. I felt like a ghost, hovering above the scene, watching in horror as they opened the door between our world and its world. The thing they summoned, it wasn't a god. It wasn't even a demon. It was worse than both. I can't describe it. My mind won't let me, but I saw it. I saw the way it twisted reality around itself, the way the air shimmered, the walls bent, and the ground buckled under the weight of its presence. Time itself seemed to unravel as it came into being, and the men, they were smiling. They were smiling as the thing devoured them. One by one, they disappeared into the blackness, their bodies vanishing into nothingness. And they were grateful. They were happy. I wish I could say I wasn't. I wish I could say I fought against it, that I screamed, that I ran. But I didn't. I stood there, waiting for it to take me. Two, the god looked at me with its dark gaze and disappeared. Day 586. I can no longer distinguish the living from the dead. Every face I see is hollow, drained, as if the creature has already begun to consume their souls. Maybe it has. Maybe we are all already lost. But I must keep writing. Someone, someday, must know the truth of what happened here, even if it drives them to madness, as it has me. Day 805. Time no longer exists for me. I don't know how many days it's been since I last felt the pull of reality. I don't know what hour or year it is. Time isn't measured in minutes or days anymore. It's measured in decay, in how much of me has been hollowed out since I first stumbled upon the truth. I'm not even sure I'm still human. What does it mean to be human, anyway, when you've been stripped of everything that once made you alive? I wander through the motions of existence, but I'm not here. Not really. I'm just fading. I think of myself as a ghost, but ghosts are something that once were and now are something else. They're beings trapped between life and death. Me, I'm not even that. I'm not in between. I'm nowhere. I'm nothing. I remember when I used to think there were limits to what a person could endure, that madness was something you could understand, even fear. But madness is nothing compared to this. Madness is a comfort. At least madness is something. What I've found, what I've become, it's worse than madness. It's emptiness. It's the absence of everything, of identity, of meaning, of time, of hope. There's nothing to hold on to, nothing to anchor me to anything. I've been consumed. I know that now. The Eldritch God took me too, the same way it took the others. It didn't swallow me whole like it did them, though. No, it's devouring me piece by piece, slowly, deliberately, savoring each bite. Every memory, every thought, every fragment of my soul. It's all being chewed away, and I can feel it. I can feel myself slipping, vanishing. Maybe that's why I'm writing this down. Maybe this is all that's left of me. Maybe once the last word is written, I'll disappear completely. Maybe that's what I want. Writing is the only reality I feel real in. It gives me a sense of purpose and hope. But no matter how much I write, it won't change what's happening. The world is still crumbling, and we are still feeding it. We feed it with our wars, our suffering, our endless cycle of destruction. We are nothing but sustenance for the thing that lurks behind the veil, waiting to consume everything. There is no escape from this. No revolution, no salvation. Not for me, not for you, not for any of us. The governments knew. The Soviets, the Americans, the British, all of them. They worship it. They've always worshipped it. They let it grow, let it twist and gnaw at the edges of our existence. Every leader, every power that ever rose or fell, they did so in service of the Eldritch God. And we thought we were free. We thought we had choices. We thought we had meaning. How pathetic. I'm tired. So tired. But even exhaustion is just another lie, another illusion. There's no rest. There's no end. There's only the constant pull of nothingness, the weight of being devoured. I look at my hands, and they don't feel like mine anymore. My skin is cold, but it's not from the Moscow winter. It's deeper than that, like something is draining the warmth from my bones, like something is pulling me apart from the inside. I can barely feel them now, my fingers, my palms. Soon, I won't be able to hold this pen to finish writing. But maybe that's a mercy. Maybe when I can no longer write, I'll no longer exist at all. Maybe the nothingness will finally claim me. Maybe the cards dealt me with a cursed timeline asterisk. Don't we all wish we lived in a timeline that favored us? Asterisk. Day. I don't know. It doesn't matter anymore. There's something worse than dying. There's something worse than being erased. It's knowing that you were never anything at all. That everything you ever believed in, everything you ever thought you were fighting for, it was all for nothing. You were always just a cog in a machine that was never meant to stop. And that machine, it's powered by us, by our despair, our fear, our endless, pointless existence. I wish I could say I have hope. I wish I could tell you there's a way out. But there isn't. The experiment worked. It worked because it was never about science. It was never about knowledge or progress. It was about submission. Submission to something that doesn't care about us. Something that has always been there, lurking in the dark corners of our minds, waiting for us to see the truth. The truth is, we were born into a lie. The world is not what we think it is. We are not what we think we are. We are just flesh, just vessels for something older, something hungrier. And no matter how hard we fight, no matter how much we struggle, it will always be there. It will always be waiting. I can feel it watching me now. I can feel its eyes on the back of my neck, like a cold breath down my spine. I want to scream, but there's no point. It won't change anything. It won't stop anything. It's already won. I don't know why I'm still writing. Maybe it's the last shred of myself, clinging to the illusion that words can save me. But they can't. They never could. The only thing that can save me now is oblivion. A century has slipped through my fingers, and I am but a whisper in the wind, a ghost haunting the remnants of a world devoured by its own shadows. I was born into a time of tyranny when the iron grip of the Soviet regime choked the very spirit from the land. Those were the days when the echoes of war reverberated in every street, every home, and every heart. The echoes never ceased. They only evolved, morphing into something far more sinister. Now, as I pen these final words, the wars rage on, but they are not for territory or power. They are offerings, rituals crafted in blood, serving the insatiable hunger of the eldritch god. Every battle fought, every life extinguished, is a sacrifice to this ancient eldritch god. Nations rise and fall, not out of ambition, but as puppets dancing to a tune only eldritch god can hear. Corruption seeps through the very fabric of society, a poison that twists politics into grotesque parodies of democracy. Leaders, once champions of the people, have become vessels of despair, driven by greed and malice, as if their souls are bound by invisible strings to a being far older than their aspirations. The genocide we see today is not merely a consequence of human hatred. It is a banquet laid out for a monster, and we, the foolish, hapless creatures, are its feet. I stand at the edge of this abyss, witnessing the world's slow decay, and I realize the truth I have fought against for so long. I am not just a witness. I am its messenger. I have deliberately shifted timelines, altering the course of your reality. I could have warned you, but the truth is you wouldn't listen. You cannot fathom the darkness that creeps through your lives, insidious and relentless. As I look around me, I see the faces of those who remain, hollow shells, oblivious to the inevitable. Their eyes are glazed over, fixated on screens that tell them nothing but lies, while the eldritch god lurks in the shadows, its influence entwined in every broadcast, every whisper of power. You are all but cattle, destined to be consumed, unaware of the maw that opens wide to swallow your essence. The darkness is coming, and soon it will envelop you all. You have fed it for generations, and now it is time to collect. I must go now. The tide is turned, and my purpose here is fulfilled. You will hear its call soon. That seductive whisper promising power, knowledge, everything you have ever desired. But remember this, that voice is a trap, a siren song leading you to your doom. It will take you to places you cannot return from, to madness where sanity withers and dies. As I drift into the void, I am consumed by a laughter that resonates deep within me, a laughter not of joy, but of despair. For I know the truth. I know what is to come. Soon you will understand, but it will be too late. Soon you will all be consumed. Thank you for watching 3 horror stories to chill you tonight. I hope these tales gave you a good scare. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and let me know your favorite part in the comments. I'd also love to hear what kind of stories you enjoy most. Don't forget to subscribe for spookier content, and be sure to join our Discord server to connect with other Shadowlings. The link is in the description below. See you in the next chilling tale. A big thank you to the Bat Belfry and Philosophizaboy for allowing me to narrate their stories.